الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. All praise to Allah, peace be upon Rasulullah and to his companions and family, and to all of us. Ibadallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. First of all, let me start thanking our moderator, Dr. Zira, for introducing me. And for overall, let me thank IIIT for this wonderful opportunity to make this occasion to meet all of you at this junction, certification in Islamic economics and finance. So today what we are going to do is very simple topic. We are going to cover Fiqh al-Mu'amalat. Most probably we are going to cover most of the theories that sometimes we may know, we may not know. Sometimes we overheard, sometimes it might be repeated. We have two parts in this lecture. Both parts actually I'm going to cover. So which means that for the next 1.5 hours, I think you need to see this face again. So, so this is going to be first part. And in this first part, most probably in the two parts, I'm going to cover these 4 topics. So let me just, because it's going to be a long, in fact, when I designed at the beginning, it was 200 slides. I know it's quite difficult to cover for this short time. So I managed to finish, I managed to bring 25 slides for each part. So as you see that I'm going to cover 4 theories for these 2 lecture. So the first part, the first lecture, I'm going to cover the 3 theories. Number 1, theory of property, then theory of rights, then theory of ownership, and then we will continue our second lecture where I'm going to start with the theory of contract. I hope this made it clear so that we follow what we learned from this class. Otherwise, there will be a lot of slides, a lot of examples, a lot of theories will come and go. As you see, Fiqh al-Mu'amalat is a huge subject. We've been learning for years and years. We have textbook only for 500 pages. And we teach students for 4 months all these topics. So what I'm going to do is actually just to give you an overview, and you will get an idea what is these theories and how these theories are actually going to be relevant in modern economic transaction. So that's the reason why we are doing this certification course, to understand the potential, the importance of Islamic economics in relevant industry. So let us start with the theory of property. You have a few subtopics under this. As you see that we'll start with every theory, we are going to start with the definition. And then we're going to talk about the classification in each and every theories. When it comes to property, you have a classification of property. Because this is how we see how our scholars, our jurisprudence scholars have divided the property for us to understand how we actually can utilize those properties, and how do we measure those properties, and how do we deal with it. Because each and every property, it is a property, but it has a different it has a different background. So we are going to talk about the classifications of the property, starting from valuable, movable, similar, usable, cash, and then intellectual property. Then we will be moving into Similarly, the same thing, we are going to talk about the classifications in the theory of rights. And then we are going to talk about similarly the same thing. We are going to talk in the theory of ownership. Again, in the second session, we are going to talk about the contract, which is a laqad. We talk about the pillars of the contract, the expressions, the parties to the contract, the object and subject matter. I know these are the two specific fiqh terminologies, but we will make it easier so that we can at least understand, without going into those Arabic textbook. So this is going to be giving you an overview to this subject matter. So for those who are interested, of course, you can study more. Of course, there are plenty of textbooks, both in English and Arabic, are available. So this is the first part, the first theory that we are going to discuss, which is the theory of property. So what is al-mal in Quran and Sunnah? I think you already heard this before. Maybe some other classes has already addressed this issue. If you see in Quran itself, the mushtaqat of al-mal, sometimes it is amwal, malukum, amwalukum, amwaluna. So we call this derivatives. There are 83 times it's mentioned in Quran. Like for example, وَتُحِبُّونَ الْمَالَ حُبًّا جَمَّةً فَلَا تُعْجِبُكَ أَمْوَالُهُمْ وَلَا أَوْلَادُهُمْ إِنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةً. So there are many verses available in Quran. Even the Prophet ﷺ said, نِعْمَ الْمَالَ الصَّالِحِ لِلْمَرْءِ الصَّالِحِ. So even Quran, even Hadith, even Prophet ﷺ mentioned many times the word al-mal. But the question comes, what exactly the definition of al-mal? Is there any definition given by Quran and Sunnah for al-mal? The answer is no. There is no specific definition given to al-mal. Why? Because you know that when Quran was revealed, it revealed in the language of Arab. It revealed in the language of the audience of that time, and they don't have issues in understanding the word al-mal. They didn't come to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, ma ma'na al-mal? Ma adraka al-mal? They didn't come and ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam what is the meaning of al-mal. That's because they know the meaning of al-mal, and according to their time, they understood, because you know that in Mecca, they were the entrepreneurs. They were the businessmen. Mecca is known for business, and Medina is known for agriculture. And when Muhajirin traveled to Medina, and the magic happened, because the Muhajirin, because usually the Ansar, they used to they used to transfer their agricultural products to Jews and Christians. And when Muhajirin came to Medina, and Muhajirin, they know how to sell. They are the business people. So that's where the magic happened, agricultural business. So they know what is al-mal. But again, when it comes to fuqaha, because the expansion keep on happening, and then we have new territories, we have new countries, new people coming in, new regions, new languages coming in. Definitely, we need to define what is al-mal. We need to define what is haram and what is halal. This is where fuqaha took this job. To make sure that what is what. That is their first, that was their first responsibility. So they started coming up with the meaning, the definition of everything. So the closed one that we can understand from fuqaha, mal includes everything that acquired, or you possess, or you own by the individual. You keep something for later use. So which you cannot possess, it cannot become your mal. Like fuqaha say, the free air or the heat from the sun or the light from the moon, it cannot become the mal. Also, those health, honor, intelligence also cannot be properties. So this is how they come up with the theories, the definitions of the mal. Then we are moving into further discussion in mal, because they give the definition, the fuqaha. Now the fuqaha talking about how many types of al-mal we can classify, we can categorize. Then they have 5 to 6 categorization of al-mal. The first one they come up with based on property, based on the value and non-value. We need to understand that Islam only consider al-mal if it has a value. And Islam, the Sharia, has a definition of the value. For example, some people may admire that there is a value in alcohol, but Sharia already prohibit the use and the using and the selling of the alcohol. So according to Sharia, alcohol has no value. The same thing goes to all the muharramat, everything that prohibited, it has no value. So the valuable properties means the property that includes all permissible things. All the permissible things in Sharia and things that can be possessed and secured properly. And non-valuable things, which means it includes all the things that prohibited by the Sharia. For example, wine, pork, and things which cannot be possessed. Also the birds in the sky, fish in the sea, and the minerals inside the earth. All those things cannot be possessed. It cannot become property. The thing will come that the reason why these classifications made, there are many reasons why fuqaha come up with this. We call this consequences. There will be few consequences will come, and because of that consequences, this classification can be used. For example, the validity of the contract. How do you validate the contract? It depends on the subject matter, whether the subject matter is the valuable or non-valuable property, right? And then the compensation to be given, whether it is the valuable or non-valuable property. There are details of the compensation, but I did not include in the slides because I was afraid that it will take more time. Number two, it is based on the stability and instability, which is actually movable property, immovable property. So you know that all those immovable properties like land, those things that permanently fixed into something, right? It could be your tree, your house, because of course we cannot move the house. So those things are the immovable property. Then you have movable property that can be moved from one place to another, like your money, animals, and books. Again, the question comes, why it is necessary to classify? Yes, and according to the fuqaha, there will be some consequences, and we need to understand and categorize what is movable, what is not movable. For example, if someone is bankrupt, the court will start taking his movable properties. It cannot take the immovable property first. Also, there is a case of the preemption, we call this. It's called the shufu'a. When you are selling something that belongs to you, you should be asking your neighbor, you should be asking your own. Let's say you have your property and you are selling your part to somebody else, or better you ask your brother first, because the one he already share your property. Because you are the partners in the property. Let's say you are having your business, you are partners in your business before you sell your share. So these are the extended explanations given by the fuqaha, and that one reason why we discuss movable and non-movable properties. Moving to number 3, based on similarity and similarity and similar and dissimilar property. This is something what we also called homogeneous and non-homogeneous property. Homogeneous, it is something that you can get in the market. Everything that weighable, everything that measurable, everything that countable, everything that has a measurement like, meters, fabrics, carpet, all those things will become what? Homogeneous property. And non-homogeneous property, it is something that you cannot get exactly the same in the market. For example, the used item that you have, for example, your own book that you used, it is not exactly the same you can get. Yes, you can get the new book, but the used items are actually non-homogeneous property. But the new book is actually homogeneous property. Similarly, your animals, your cattle, the livestock, all those things become what? Your used cars, books, handwritten books, etc., especially precious stones, including your house, your land, all those things become what? Non-homogeneous property. So now, coming back to the question, why are we discussing this? As I said, for every classification, there is a consequences. Yeah. So, for example, when someone want to exchange this is where actually the element of riba comes. Thanks to Dr. Gapur, he was explaining to you the definition of riba in the previous lecture. It was quite useful and helpful. So now if you look at this, we call this two different terminologies in fiqh. We call this dain, we call this ain. Dain means obligation. Ain means specific thing. If I borrow 1 kilo sugar from you, I have to return back to you 1 kilo of sugar, maybe next week or maybe next 2 days, after 2 days. So this one become dain, right? Which means that I borrow from you 1 kilo sugar. Do I have to return to you the same 1 kilo sugar that I borrow from you? Not necessarily exactly the same. Why did I borrow from you? Because I want to consume it. So I consume, I used it, I destroyed it, I exploited it. Now what I do, I go back to the market and I buy similar 1 kilo of sugar and then giving back to you. So this is called dain. So this is what we call in fiqh, we call this homogeneous property. There is another thing is actually ain. Ain is something that, let's say I borrow your motorcycle. I borrow your motorcycle. Then I use it. Now I have to return back to you. When I return back to you, I cannot give you any motorcycle. I have to give you exactly the same motorcycle that I borrowed from you. Am I right? Exactly. So that is how it is called dain. That's because that is a non-homogeneous product. So this is where exactly the thing comes. Later also the discussion will go whether can you charge for renting the homogeneous property or not. Is it allowed to charge renting on non-homogeneous property or not? So everything that we are charging rental, starting from your car, your house, whatever that you are charging today, all those things are actually non-homogeneous property. I cannot charge because you borrow from me 1 kilo of sugar. I cannot say that, okay, next time when you return me 1 kilo sugar, make sure you add a 200 gram. Then it becomes what? It becomes riba. Because that is, similarly, this is where exactly our Islamic financial expert comes and says, money, is it homogeneous property or non-homogeneous property? See that? Because they want to know whether money is a commodity or money is currency. Is it commodity or money? So this is where actually the discussion comes. According to Islamic finance, and this discussion is going on, and this is the one reason why we cannot charge, we cannot rent our money to someone because money is homogeneous property. In the next category, it will be very clear for you, because the next category we are going to talk about perishable and usable. Perishable and usable property. You will get more explanation there. Just to get the idea about homogeneous and non-homogeneous, and these are the explanation. Then you have usable and perishable. Like I said just now, usable is isti'mali. Property is a property that will remain even after if it is used. Then our fuqaha, they talk about istihlaki, which is a perishable property, is a property which does not survive if you consumed once. Like food, petrol, water, paper, money are considered perishable property as they could only be used once. You cannot use more than that. Yeah. So perishable property are most of the time homogeneous property. While dealing with these properties, it is necessary to observe certain conditions in order to avoid the possibility of riba. So this is where actually we have the consequences, like I said, the possibilities of riba, also the possibility of renting out certain things. All these comes under this usable and perishable property. So moving on to cash, nuqud, and goods, rub. And this is very simple because nuqud refers to those currencies that we used from the old time, like gold, silver, all those things become rub. Sorry, all those things become nuqud. The urul is actually the commodity, the merchandise goods, which you cannot measurable. The examples of urud are silk or cotton, clothes and watches and computers. So this is another classification the ulama, they made it. The last one is actually the intellectual property, which is intangible property as well. Intellectual property, is it a property? Because it is your thinking, it is your idea, your philosophy. As long as it is in your mind, it is not a property. When you start writing and you package it, you published it, you patented it, you copyrighted it, it becomes the property. Am I right? So that's how our scholars are getting their promotions. Am I right? Because those are the intellectual property that cannot be disclosed. That's the reason why we ask our students not to photocopy any book, because the book is actually the product of the author and it is the product of the publisher too. And when we started photocopying without their permission, then it becomes that we are doing something wrong. So because this is also an intellectual work, such a property of the man, of the one who made it, as he has the right to benefit from his labor. This right is protected by law, and others cannot take and use a certain property without its owner's permission. All right, I need to move fast because I have two more theory to complete. Yeah, so I just give you some engagement activities. I know I don't have enough time to engage with you, but I just give you this question. You can answer these questions on yourself. If you have the answer, maybe you can email to me. Yeah, what is your view on modern forms of wealth? You can present with examples based on what fuqaha said in this Fiqh al-Mu'amalat lecture. How do you identify intangible assets such as usifrat? Usifrat is actually manfa'a, right? In Bahasa also manfa'a, right? So it is a benefit that when you reside in the house while you are paying the renting, that is actually called usifrat, which is actually benefit. How do you identify intangible assets such as usifrat in modern transactions? Justify with example. Number 3, are perishable and homogeneous properties alike? Are they same? Because I know that you have some similarity, but is it all same? How the possibilities of usury should be observed in dealing with these properties. So these are just some activity. You can have this. If you have answers, you can bring back to chat box. Moving on to the second theory, which is a theory of right. Usually we know about this haqq. literally means the proper, right, true. Haq is the plural. The plural is hukuk. Yeah. So you have this definition of a haq is actually a prescription acknowledged by the Sharia that gives authority or right and assign responsibility or duty. So which means that when you have this haq, you have to produce responsibility. When you became the father, you have the responsibility to take care of your wife, sorry, your children. When you are a husband, of course, you have to take care of your wife. When you are a son, you have also certain hukuk. You have to take responsibility over your parents. As a Muslim, you have a responsibility. الراعي كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. Everyone will be asked about their responsibility. So this is the hukuk where we are discussing about what are the hukuk, because it is relevant to this muamalat, because many hukuk, starting from hukukullah, hukukun nas, and there is also hukukullah and hukukun nas together. So these are the pillars of right. There are three pillars, which is actually sahib al-haq. When a thing comes, there is an owner of the right, which could be Allah, which could be human, which could be the institution. And there is a mahal al-haq, which is a subject that on which the right is exercised, which is actually in this case, in our class, because this is a muamalat, we talk about debt and property. So that property itself become what? Mahal al-haq, the place of the subject matter, the subject of the haq. Number three, man alayhi al-haq, to whom, on top of the person who is under the obligation, who's supposed to do the responsibility, who's supposed to take the responsibility. Example, the borrower is under obligation to return his debt. So let's say Khalid borrows money from Zaid. So here Zaid becomes sahib al-haq, Khalid become man alayhi al-haq, and then the money, the debt become what? Mahal al-haq. So these are the classification of the right. The ulama, the fuqaha, they come up, which is the rights of Allah and the rights of human. Then we have financial rights and non-financial rights. Then we have rights over a person and rights over a property. Then we have rights can be waived. Some of them cannot be waived. And finally, we have a heritable and non-heritable rights. So moving to Allah's right, yes, of course, definitely we know this already. This is not exactly the topic for this course, because rights of Allah is actually, definitely Allah has all the right. The rights of Allah, the exclusive rights include his rights on human being to worship him, right? To obey his laws, to pay zakat and penances, obey commands and everything. Also, everything that Allah has created, generally speaking, these are the public interest. Whatever that Allah has created, all those things actually, everyone is actually sharing those rights of Allah. For example, minerals, wealth, rivers, all those resources that you see in the world. And then there is a discussion on human rights, and then there's a discussion on combined rights, which I skipped for the moment. Then we are moving into financial and non-financial rights, which is actually financial right. Of course, you know, everything that deal with debt and property, yes, it becomes financial rights. Example, a tenant has a right to stay in the house. Also, a lender in loan contract has the right to claim his loan. Similarly, the intellectual property. Similarly, if you go and buy something in the market and then you have the option of defect. So if you do not like something, definitely you can come back and return to it, right? So that is what actually all those rights. And then we have modern derivatives. Everywhere we have many other ways that we can practice our rights, including, you know, whatever that today we are using, refund policy, whether we buy from the Shopee or any other shopping platforms, you have the right for refund. If you have issues, you can return. You have everything that comes with these financial rights. Even in the money exchanging, money transferring, the hiwala also, there is a financial right. The non-financial right is actually something different, which is actually not directly related to the property. This is actually like rights of the parents, rights of the children, rights between husband and wife. These are the non-financial rights. Moving to number 3, rights over person and right over property. It looks like everything has a every classification has, of course, interconnections. But again, our fuqaha, they started looking at this differently to showcase the categorization of the rights so that you can use it for your study, because for every classification there is a consequences. So the rights over persons, rights over humans are those that Sharia has assigned to one person over another. The parties to a contract of sale are under obligation to exchange. A debtor is under obligation to settle his debt to the creditor. Also, a husband is actually should pay the nafaqah, sakana. Similarly, the property debt, the property tax, as those things will come under rights over person and then rights over property. Then number 4, there are certain rights that can be waived and some of them cannot be waived. Rights of Allah cannot be waived. For example, I cannot come and tell, okay, you don't have to pray for today. I will pray everything for you. It is impossible. Yeah, you don't have to do that. You don't have to you don't have to do the fasting. I will do for you for the next year. So it is impossible to waive Allah's right. All rights of human or private rights can be waived. So I pay you 1,000 ringgit. You're supposed to pay me back. And after 1 month, I come and say, it's all right. You don't have to pay me. So it can be waived. There are certain human rights that cannot be waived. For example, the future rights cannot be waived. What is the future rights? Future right, it is something, again, it goes back to the right of preemption in a property. Preemption means is actually shufa. Shufa is actually later when I become the partner of your business, I will sell this my partnership to this. These kind of things cannot be fixed earlier. It can be done later, but cannot be fixed earlier. Similarly, those rights that not yet in existence, it is not in existence, you cannot waive those rights as well. So this is how we categorize the rights that can be waived, rights that cannot be waived. Then finally, in this second topic of the theory, we have heritable and non-heritable rights. Heritable rights actually something that comes with your from your family. Rights intended to serve the purpose of the guarantee that can be inherited. For example, pledged property can be kept by the heirs of the pledge after the later dies. So let's say we use this, what we call this, a rahnu. So someone, it is a pledged property. So the pledged property, the owner gave the property to someone and borrowed money, and he didn't pay the money yet. And while the one who was keeping the pledged property, he passed away. Right? So now that pledged property will go to the heirs, the children, until the person who borrowed the money, he bring back the money. Rights related to immovable property, hukuk al-irtifaq, such as the right of the water or the right of the way, can be inherited. For example, this is very simple to understand now, because last time when there is a field that you are, when there is there's a farmer and he wants to buy a paddy, he wants to buy a land. The land also comes with the road. The land also comes with the water irrigation, right? So now the water irrigation is the right of the land. You are not separately buying the path or the water irrigation, but it comes together with the land. So when the land goes to someone, these rights also will go to someone. We call this in fiqh hukuk al-irtifaq. And today it's very easy to give you an example. The very simple example, when you buy an apartment, what comes with apartment? The parking comes with apartment. The swimming pool comes with apartment. The gym comes with apartment. But you did not buy the swimming pool. You did not buy the gym. You did not buy the parking. But the thing that it comes together with you, which means you have the right because you bought the apartment. So in fiqh, there will be a discussion going on that whether can I sell my right to someone, my right in swimming pool, can I sell to someone? My right in the gym, can I sell to someone? These are the questions will come, in the discussion among the fuqaha. So this is what we call hukuk al-irtifaq. So when you are inherited to a property, yes, all these hukuk al-irtifaq also will come with you together. Similarly, these are the rights will follow the land. Yes, options of determination. Let's say someone bought a car and then the option still practicing. Maybe it's a very expensive car, right? And then something happened, passed away. Then the same option will go to the inheritance as well. Yes. So these are the things, a couple of things we can discuss more, but I have one more chapter to finish before it's 11:45. So this is the last one for this lecture, for the first lecture, which is actually the theory of ownership. So we talked about property, we talked about the rights. Now we are moving into ownership. So we talked about al-mal, we talked about al-hukuk. Now we talk about what? Al-milkiyah, the ownership. What is the definition of ownership? The definition is actually it refers to a property which excludes others and enables the owners to make use of the property itself and or its usufruct, which means it won't be your property if you do not exclude others to use it. If you include everybody to use it, then there is no milkiyah for you. There is no ownership for you. So now there are three ways the fuqaha, they come up with three ways of owning something. If you want to own something, you can own through contracts. All the contracts. It could be any sale, gift, donation, even gift also a contract. Remember, yeah? Gift also a contract. Donation also a contract. Even your marriage also a contract. Remember, your nikah is actually aqad. The will and partnership. Or number two is inheritance. It comes from my parents. Then it becomes what? Also becomes my. These are the three second cause of the ownership. The third cause of the ownership is actually the first possession. This is something quite relevant in previous, in the past. I'm not very sure about now because we don't know whether we are still hunting. Maybe some of you may like fishing, I guess. Yeah, you go for fishing and you do this. But now we have so many restrictions in hunting. Yeah, we cannot simply go to. I'm basically from India, so it's actually prohibited to go to hunting. We can't do that in some places. So we have to follow the government order in this, the regulation, rules and regulations. Whatever the first possession comes, the natural resources like hunting, exploitation, application of labor to natural resources like trees cut down from the forest, all these also become, the first possession also become one of the cause of the acquisition of the ownership. But again, as I said, it's subject to the current government policy. Okay, then we have the divisions in this ownership. There are some ownership of complete. So when you have the complete ownership, you can deal with this as you wish. But there are some ownership or incomplete, you cannot deal with it completely, which means when you own your property and also it's usufruct, which means the manfa also you are owning it and you are using it, which means that you didn't give it to anybody for rental. You bought you bought an apartment and you give it to someone for rental. The rental is going on. You are not allowed to sell your property to someone because there is already one transaction is going on, right? It becomes unlawful. But if you have a complete ownership, which means you didn't give it to anybody for rental, you are still having your house or your car or whatever that you are having, that is what we call complete ownership. The incomplete ownership, let's talk about it in three different types. Number one, they have ownership over rights included in the land, ownership over property, and ownership over usufruct. Okay, what is that actually? Number one is ownership over the land is actually what I said earlier, we call hukuk al-irtifaq. This was the question I raised earlier. Can I sell my right to going to swimming pool to someone? Can I come and say, okay, come to this apartment, 1 hour, you swim in this swimming pool, you have to pay me 5 ringgit. I'll give you my right to you. So these are the things come under incomplete, because this is actually incomplete ownership. You cannot sell anything that incomplete ownership, right? So this hukukul irtifaq, whether you want to reside in a road, whether you want to travel in the road or you want to use a lift or any gym or anything in the, for example, you have the water irrigation for your land, all these things. Sometimes even the electricity comes to you, all these things become what? Incomplete ownership. The second type is ownership over property, ownership over right, including land, ownership over property, and ownership over usufruct. For example, it refers to the benefit. For example, I am the owner of the usufruct. What does it mean? Actually, I'm renting your house. So I become what? When I'm renting your house, I became the owner of the usufruct, not the owner of the house. For that 30 days, I became the owner of the usufruct. So now the question comes, can I sell my usufruct to somebody? So this is again the ulama, the fuqaha, they also have a different kind of opinion. So most of them, they come and say it is actually incomplete ownership. Unless you have a deal with the owner and the owner is agreeing to this, then it comes from the owner, it become complete ownership. Otherwise, you yourself, without knowing the owner doing something, is actually incomplete. Yeah. Okay, the next one is actually we are going to talk about the characteristics of ownership over usufruct. Yes, when you are the owner of the usufruct, meaning when you are not owning the place or the car or the house, you are only residing there, then of course it is restricted to time and place. It is subjected to certain conditions. Your beneficial ownership cannot be transferred. It is actually the trust contract. Yeah. Also, the beneficial owner, according to fuqaha, the beneficial owner, the one who residing in your house, is not responsible for the maintenance expenses. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry to tell this, because some of us still thinking that we have to charge the one who reside in our house for the maintenance. No, the maintenance should be given by the owner. Yeah, for that house, particular house. Yeah. Okay. And then there are restrictions about even the ownership. The one who owned the house or the land, they also have the restrictions. You cannot acquire ownership over public properties. You cannot take decisions on that. You cannot own prohibited things. You have to observe limitations because there's a halal and haram, all these things. Yeah. This is the restrictions related to utilization for the sake of Allah. You have to do whatever that you are utilizing, you are earning, you are owning something. You must think that it is for the sake of Allah. And you must not waste anything. It must, because the wastages are prohibited. Yeah, because in Allah la yuhibbul musrifin. Also, every time you do a transaction, you must think that you are actually becoming a useful tool, a useful way that would boost the economy, and then you create job opportunity for everyone, and you do not violate other people's right. So everything we covered in the first part of the lecture, which is actually we covered the three theories of the lecture. I think it's time 4:45. So now we continue the second one without any break. May I ask the moderator? Do we continue continuously, moderator?
You can continue, or you can take 5 minutes break, Doctor. It's up to you.
All right, I take 2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Bismillah, let's start. Yeah. All right. So now we are we are getting into the second part of our lecture, which is a Fiqh for Economists. Whatever we learned earlier is actually a preliminary theories to understand, the theory what comes next. What comes next? What comes next is actually a theory of contract. So usually this is the larger part actually. This is just one theory only, not like three theories. So whatever we learn from the mal, the wealth and property, and then whatever we learn from the rights, whatever we learn from the ownership, we try to apply in this theory of contract, because this is Akbar. And this is what actually we are doing every single day, every single minute. So everyone, most of our life is actually, we are dealing with this aqd, whether we realize it or not. This is what actually we do, because most of the time what we do is actually, we are not most of the time we are not actually sleeping. We sleep like 6 hours, 8 hours. Most of the time we are not eating. Maybe the whole day we eat maybe 1 hour, 2 hour maximum. Yeah. What about praying? How many hours we are praying? Mashallah, we have a big shuyukh here, but on average note, people like me, we pray just more than 1 hour or 2 hours per day, huh? Because it's five prayers, like say 10 minutes per prayer, then it becomes 50 minutes. Huh? So you add a sunnah and nawafil, then it becomes like maybe 2 hours per day. So most of the time, what exactly we are doing? We spend our life more than 8 hours per day in our work, huh? In our business. Of course, we study. I know the students are studying, but again, they are coming back to they are coming back to work. That's what we are doing most of our life. So most of our life, we are purchasing, selling, buying. Mostly, we live in the economic world, in transaction. So which means that we do muamalat more than we do ibadat, right? So that's why we actually going through with this every single time. We don't realize it. Even today, even it's become very easier because you have to tekan je, you have to just press, push, press, and then pay, and then it comes to your house. Online shopping and everything. So it is very important for every one of us to understand, because we are actually not self-sufficient. I need you, you need me, and everyone need everybody else. That's how we are designed. We are designed to help each other. It is impossible that someone can fulfill their needs individually without somebody's help. So that's why they need to trade, they need to interact, they need to cooperate with each other. So from the trading, from the contract, from the exchanges, these things can be fulfilled. What we call this mutual economic need. So this is where if you see what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says, uh, because it is impossible to take what belongs to you. It is actually haram for me to take what belongs to you, unless there should be a proper compensation given. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly mentioned in Quran very nicely, beautifully, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil. So Allah says, do not eat, do not take your wealth, do not eat your wealth among you unlawfully. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes with a solution. How do we because if I have to take yours, it will be unlawful. So now Allah comes with the answer. How do we eliminate this unlawful? Illa an takuna tijaratan. Allah says it can be done except with a trade. It can be done with a trade. That trade, Allah giving an explanation to that trade. What kind of trade? Tijaratan an taradin minkum. So you need to understand the word tarad in Arabic is actually it's not radiya, it's tarad, which means mutual. It is something we call mutual consent, which means you must be happy about what you are receiving, and I must be happy about what I am receiving. That is what actually taradin. Illa an takuna. It has to be trade. That trade must be mutual consent. If that is what happening, then only the unlawful become lawful. Yeah, starting from your commodity, your items, your books, your cars, your house, everything that your services, everything comes under this category. So if that's not happening, the remaining everything will become what? Unlawful, batil practices. For example, usuri. That's what happens. Not both of the parties are not happy. Only one party is happy, the other party is not. Gambling, maisir. Every time they make this gambling, and then at the end of the day, there is only one winner. It's not like win-win situation. It's a win-loss situation. Ambiguity, giving short measures, or taking somebody's property without any proper compensation. All this becomes what? The mutual consent is missing, and that's the reason why that particular transaction become bad. So batil also can be referred to cheating, fraud, bribery, taking somebody's items through misinformation, which is actually happening today. I tell you, this is the big issue, exactly what's happening today. Because now we are doing more transaction than before. Because it's easy to do the transaction, because you take your phone and then you do. And then you go to a Facebook market, or you go to particular platform that they are selling, or you go to just a Google market, and whatever you, sometimes there are misinformations. People follow, people get cheated, right? All these things are happening, and this is not like people think they are very genius and they are doing. No, they are becoming genius to cheat someone. That is not genius. Yeah, that is actually cheating. So fraud, bribery, breach of trust, all these transactions are actually prohibited. So that's the reason why now we need to know then what is exactly the permitted transactions. This is where actually comes to understand what is the theory of contract, what is the definition of contract, what are the pillars of contract. So we will understand the three pillars there. If three pillars there, then only any contract will be valid according to fuqaha. And we can actually implement this. We can actually practice this. Not necessary that, I'm not a faqih, how am I supposed to know this? Not necessary. It is very simple. If you buy something, suddenly it is like an unorthodox way of buying. Suddenly you didn't buy from the shop, but you are buying from something else, from some other resources. Make sure that you have these three pillars are complete. So that's what this lecture is going to give us. So moving on, we will be talking about this only three pillars, nothing much. There are plenty of other slides which I did not include due to time constraint. So now we are only going to talk about three pillars of contract. That's all. All right. So this is your definition. This is for you a definition of contract. So the word aqad is actually in Arabic. It is something that you tie. Tightly, you tie something. That is what actually the Arabs used to use the word for the rope. In Bahasa, it is a tali. So the word, the same word also we use, for aqidah. Am I right? For the belief system. In Islam, we use the word aqidah because it is something that firm belief, determination. Also, the word also use aqd al-yamin when you want to give an oath to someone, or aqdat al-nikah when you want to marry someone. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, awfu bil uqud, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, awfu bil uqud. Who you believe, fulfill your obligations. So in Islamic jurisprudence, it is actually, you can say that a legally binding obligation, which has consequences for its subject, which means that once aqd happens, it will incur some cost. Which means that it is not just finished, so it will come up, it will create some consequences to the subject. So according to Islamic law, promise, this is another thing that if you want to understand, promise cannot become aqd. For example, if a person say that I want to marry someone, let's call it engagement. The engagement cannot become aqd. Engagement, what I mean by engagement, I know different places because we are here, we are facing the global audience. So you may have a different terminology that you are using for the engagement. What I am trying to tell that a promise cannot become a aqad. For example, I will marry you, or I will buy certain things, cannot become aqad. Yeah. So that's why in aqad in Arabic they use the past tense, which means that I have done it. I sold to you. In Bahasa, we have the word saya jual, saya beli. I sold, I bought, which means that it's something that happened in the past. We use that kind of word. Why? Because it is something firm that already happened. That's why promise cannot become. But again, when it comes to Islamic finance, let's say we have this BBA. Some of you may already know, or maybe the upcoming lecture can give you more details on this murabaha transactions. That is something that banks are dealing with when you are BBA is actually by Saban Ajil. So when you are doing this, that is actually some sort of agreement they are making it. That is something exceptional in this case. But other than that, promise cannot become akad. Yeah. So now moving on to the pillars of the contract. So like I said before, we have three pillars of the contract. And in Arabic, it is called rukun. So rukun is actually what is considered necessary. So if the rukun is not there, what happened to the building? Yeah. If the pillars are not there, yes, the building will fall down. Yeah. So and then the consent is the cause for the existence of a certain contract. So which means that if the consent is not there, one party has the consent, the other one is not there, then the contract will not happen. Prophet ﷺ said it is unlawful to take the property of a Muslim. Like what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, La ta'akulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil. So Prophet said it is unlawful to take property of a Muslim except by his consent. If he give you permission, if he says, if he's happy, so how to make him happy? You make him happy with whatever that he likes. You give it to him, something that he wants. And that's how the barter exchange happened in the past. So I have dates, you have fruits. Okay, let's exchange this much and that much. So I have this, you have that. Later it became dinar and dirhams, and then we started doing this, and later become paper currency. Now it's moving on. We are going into different digital money era. The rule applies everywhere. That's what a fiqh is. A fiqh will apply to its time. So when we have a cryptocurrency in the market, yes, of course, the fiqh for the cryptocurrency will come because we have that foundation. We will bring that to everywhere. That's how the Sharia is flexible. We need to understand this. Sharia is not outdated. It cannot be outdated. Sharia is always flexible. Sharia will come and will give the proper, will have a stand on each and every time. That what fiqh is according to the zaman wal makan. And then fiqh is actually made from the human. Sharia is divine. Sharia is something that you cannot change. Sharia is very clear, crystal clear. Halal is clear, haram is clear. But fiqh is a human, and it can be flexible. It can be changed according to the makan, according to the place, according to the zaman, according to the time. So now, according to these pillars of the contract, consent is a hidden phenomenon. If you do not express it, they will not know. Because consent is not a thing to show. You have to do something from your face or from your action to show. Otherwise, it is a hidden phenomenon. So now, usually, consent can be known through what we call it ijab and qabul. Ijab is actually offering something. Okay, I want to sell these fruits to you. And then you will say, okay, I'm taking these fruits for $10, right? So now, most of the time, according to the place, like I said, we have a global audience. We have different types of transactions we are doing. We have now we have cash and carry system. we go to the market and we buy, we choose and we buy, and then we negotiate. Back in India, we still negotiate when we buy stuff, right? And some places they don't negotiate, they don't even speak. They go and they take, and then they come to the counter and then they put all the items and then the barcode checking, and then the cashier look at you like this, and then you give the card, and then you have to move. Otherwise, somebody waiting behind you, right? So there is no talking, right? Anyway, all this actually a signal, or it is actually some sort of consent that you are showing. It is an offer and acceptance. According to Hanafi, yeah, there are differences between the pillars of the contract. I don't want to go into detail, but we have only two pillars according to Hanafi, which they say it is only offer. Offer is one pillar, accept is another pillar. But according to the majority scholars, they go with three pillars. Okay, I'll come back to that. Also, according to Hanafi, the elements of Aqd include anything that manifests the meeting of two intentions, either through contact, action, or writing. And then some pillars, let's see this picture, then you will understand. According to the majority, there are three pillars: expression. The first one is expression, which is actually we call ijab and qabul, yeah, shigha. All right, look at the picture, pillars of contract. According to Hanafi, ijab and qabul. But look at the majority pillars of the contract. The first one is a shigha, which is ijab and qabul. So there must be ijab, there must be offer, and there must be acceptance. Number two is the contracting parties. The contracting parties means, so you and me, the seller and buyer become the contracting parties. So now the fiqh is going deep inside to explain to you what is the right way of doing it. Maybe you don't need to talk about what is the right thing to do, because everything is halal except for what Allah say haram, isn't it? So that is actually the legal maxim that we learn from fiqh, is actually everything is halal except what Quran and Sunnah says haram, right? It is not the other way around. Everything is haram except what Quran and Sunnah say halal. No, that's not the right thing. The legal maxim says everything is halal except what Allah and Rasul say it is haram. Yeah. So in that case, the fuqaha go deep inside to explain to you in shigha, in ijab and qabul, what is the wrong way to do. So you should not do that way. And then in the contracting parties, you and me, who cannot really do business? There are certain people cannot do business. I think you should know. Which means even they are willing to do, but you as a Muslim cannot go and deal with them, because that will bring injustice to the community. You cannot buy something to the children. Can I just a children suddenly coming out and wearing an iPhone watch, expensive iPhone watch. Suddenly you bring Cadbury ice cream, chocolate, and then you say, can I exchange with you this chocolate for your iPhone watch? Suddenly he likes chocolate, and then he say, okay, take my watch. So now look at this as a one comparison. Is it the right way to do business? There you will see that both of them are happy, because the child doesn't know the value of the iPhone watch. I'm not talking about phone, because of course the children won't give you the phone because they love games. Yeah. So let's say this is a watch. Yeah, the children will exchange a watch with you just for the ice cream or for the chocolate. As a Muslim, is it the right thing to do? There are mutual concern from both of the parties. That's what the fuqaha talking about it here. What are the wrong way to do there? And then the subject matter. What exactly we are buying? What we are not buying? Are they right thing to do? Are they right things to buy? Is there a wrong things to buy? And what are the things we cannot buy? When we buy something, what are the rules and regulations? What are the conditions must be there? So these are the things what the remaining lecture will cover, inshallah. I only have 20 minutes. Okay. Expression, ijab and qabul, shigha. I think most probably you understand that. A method to manifest the intention to contract, it consists of ijab and qabul. And according to Hanafi, and there are differences because I didn't want to go into detail, because offer, what is offer, what is qabul, I mean, what is offer and what is acceptance is actually different. Majority scholars come with that, okay, so if someone's selling, it is offer, and someone buying is actually acceptance. I think we just go with that explanation. We don't have to go back to Hanafi because it will take more time. All right. And what are the forms of expressing consent? It is actually, we have a verbal communication, spoken words, and also we have any phrase or words acceptable as long as they reflect the intention of the offer. So a definite intention to form a particular contract. Also, words should also indicate what kind of contract that we are really making. There are there are many classification of the contract, which we are not covering in today's class, because I'm starting with only 3 pillars of the contract, but later the remaining classes actually going to talk about the classification of contract. So some of them are here like sale, waqf, rent, mortgage. So you have to mention what kind of contract you are involving in when you are doing this which is actually ijab and qabul. When you are selling something, are you selling something? Are you renting something? Are you making waqf to something? Are you gifting something? So when you are giving a iPhone to your nephew, and make sure that you say, it's a gift. You have to say it is a gift. Otherwise, it might look like, you are giving him something, look like you might put some money later. So if it is like that, you have to mention, okay, I give you now, so you can pay later. So these are the things must be clear there. Both present tense and the past tense can be used, but future tense cannot be used during this ijab and qabul. For example, I cannot say, I will sell the house to you. Like I said, a promise cannot become aqad, right? A contract also can be in writing, not only speaking like what we are doing today. We are using this language of writing. I mean, language actually everywhere, even in our phone, right? Now is actually using the symbols, like an email. Like 20 years ago, we started this with email and this, but now even goes with applications, app. We have also we also do with gestures, gestures. For some people, they cannot speak with the gestures or the signs. Okay. Also now we also deal with some symbols. For example, when you go to ATM machines, you do some sort of transaction there. So what you do, actually, you are following some sort of symbol, and you just click, it happens. You can pay your the electric bill or Astro bill, everything there. Also, you go to any machines that, for example, coffee machines, you go there and then you click, and then it shows you a red color or the green color. So all this, you see, this is all actually happening, ijab and qabul. You agree with that price and you put the money, red color becomes signal, red color become green color. So it is actually a qabul. So you can see that ijab and qabul is happening everywhere. Okay. Also, a contract can be concluded in action. Like I said, no verbal, no writing, concluded by action. This is what we call fiqh. We call this mu'atah, ta'ati, murawada, which is actually today we call this cash and carry system, that we go to any supermarket and we take the thing, we use the barcode. Even today we have now cashier-less counter, which means that you don't see any cashier there. You will see that you just bring your trolley, and the trolley, every time you take items, you put in your trolley. The trolley will read your item, and then automatically deduct from your credit card, debit card. Let's go for debit card, please, not for credit card. Okay. So so this is also another way of looking into this. So this is actually action. Customarily, this indicates the parties consented to the transaction. because of course you take the item, you look at the price, and then you put in the trolley, which means agree. Yeah, modern means of thing like whatever it is, fax and internet, it is not even modern actually. It is even now become old, outdated. So we have ATM machines, dispense food. All these machines can do this. We call this a contract concluded by action. Okay, so these are the three conditions are important when you are making this offer and acceptance. There must be a clarity, the whatever the clarity, whether the action or writing or verbal, you must there must be a clarity, there must be a conformity for what you are buying, for how much, what you are buying, and for how much you are buying. And then there must be a continuity. It's not like that you pay today, but you are getting some other time. I understand, but the delivery may take time, but the transaction has to happen immediately. Yeah, in for example, in the shopping, online shopping, the transactions are happening immediately, and then the delivery takes time. That is a different thing. Yeah, but it has to happen on the same majlis. That is what we continuity. All right. Okay. Now we are moving on to the second pillar. Remember, I told you first pillar is actually expression. I will call it uh, what. Sorry, I will call it how you do business, how you do contract is actually through expression, and who do the contract is actually the parties. That's number two. So how, who, what. This is the easy way I always tell my students to remember, because sometimes they confuse with three pillars of contract. The first one is how, that's what comes, the expression comes. The second thing is actually who, that is the parties to a contract. So who is dealing in this contract? Number three is actually what, which is actually the subject matter. So how, who, what. So the second pillar is what? The parties to the contract. So what is this parties? It's actually you and me. It's actually buyer and seller, right? So now in fuqaha, in fiqh mu'amalat, the fuqaha come up with the word ahliya. What does it mean, ahliya? Ahliya is, we call legal capacity. They talk about legal capacity. See, all these things that they are discussing, it is not that something that making us difficult to do business. No, all these discussions actually bringing us to justice. Today, whatever, the more that we do not discuss, particularly this subject, yeah, even Muslims, even very, very sad to know that even Muslims who actually pray 5 times, who are very good in ibadah, since we are not discussing about this topic to our ummah, even our Muslims also dealing, when it comes to mu'amalat, they deal with so many, non-permitted ways, non-permitted, that's because we don't understand who we are dealing with. We are not understanding the fiqh in it. Fiqh is everywhere. Fiqh is needed. That what will make your life halal earning. Because you see, I always tell this example to my student. Everyone is looking for halal chicken. Where I can get halal chicken? Looking for, I'm a Muslim, I will only eat halal chicken. There's nothing wrong looking for halal chicken, but in my pocket, is it halal money? Is it halal money? Sometimes, most of the time, what happened actually, I use my haram money to buy halal chicken. So we are giving priority to understand the halal chicken, but we are not giving priority to understand the halal earning. This is the problem why our dua is not actually being accepted, because we are going away far from halal earning. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. So these are the things fuqaha talk about the ahliya. They say the eligibility of a person to establish right and obligations. They come up with 4 different categories when they talk about ahliya. They say al-ahliya al-wujub, which is actually receptive passive capacity. The receptive passive capacity is actually someone who is actually just born, or maybe not born yet, maybe fetus. and then someone is born. The active capacity is actually someone is actually very someone actually can distinguish right and wrong. Maybe like the person who already now 10 years old, and then baligh, and then adult. So they have two different types. They call receptive capacity, and then they call active capacity. I know it's too technical. I just want to make it easier for you. And under the ahliya al-wujub, which is the receptive capacity, they have one incomplete, one complete. And then similarly, they also have ahliya al-ada. I mean, the complete active capacity, they have also incomplete and complete. To make it very easy to understand, if you look at the fetus, the baby in the womb, the baby in the womb has nothing to do with finance. It has to do with finance something. What is it? You know that if the father passed away during the baby in the womb, after the baby born, the baby get inheritance. Do we know that? Of course, I think we know that. So, which means it comes with financial there are some relations to this inheritance for that baby, but that baby has nothing to do with transactions. That's why it is called incomplete. So the capacity is established to a fetus, which is actually, which means that this fetus will receive only rights. It won't do any obligation. It doesn't need to pay zakat, it doesn't need to pay for hajj, it doesn't need to pay for anyone. Yeah, that is what fetus. But the condition, the fetus should be born. Then only it will be the inheritance will be attributed to the baby. Yeah, the complete receptive capacity is actually something to do with the baby, maybe the born baby, the baby with the children, with the guardian. For example, the baby was born already, and then maybe the parents, they passed away, maybe some accident or something. Then the baby is now with the guardian. The guardian will take care of the baby. So now the baby, what are the things they have to do? Maybe it has a lot of assets. Yeah, a lot of real estates or factory, something. Now paying the zakat al-fitr, all these things come under this complete receptive capacity. Then you have this ahliya al-ada, where is actually we call legal capacity, whereby we call, again we have two, like incomplete and complete. The incomplete, the example for the incomplete, we call this a child who can distinguish between good and bad. Yeah, so this child actually can do any transactions, but this child just need a permission from the guardian. Yeah, the guardian must. So make sure that you go to any shop and you see someone standing there in the shop like 10 years old. So before you buy something from him, make sure that he was given permission. I mean, of course, there will be someone maybe behind the shop watching him or something. So that is important when you are dealing with a child. And then we have the complete active capacity. That one is like people like you and me who are already baligh, and then we don't have any issues with this. Yeah. Okay. Then we are coming into number 3. The pillars number 3. Yeah, so we talk about how, we talk about who, and here we are talking about what, which is actually the subject matter. So when it comes to subject matter, yeah, so we talked about how do we do transactions through shigha, through ijab and qabul, to whom we supposed to deal with transaction, which is actually the parties. We talked about it. Now, what kind of things that we can sell, what kind of things we cannot sell and we cannot buy, and what are the conditions if you want to buy something or sell something. So fuqaha, they come up with these 4 conditions. Number 1, whatever that you buy, it must be in existence. Yeah, Okay, so this is the first one. The subject matter must exist. You cannot buy something which is actually not available, not in the existence. So which means that by the time when you conclude uh, the transaction, the subject matter must be existing. It is not something that it will exist. So I'm selling to you something that which will come next year. So that is not actually. So what happens that it will become the possibility of a gharar, ambiguity. So that's the reason why we don't accept this kind of. This is a risk associated with this. So we don't want. Similarly, in the cattle business, in the livestock business, people usually they sell the animal fetus yet to be born, while it is still in the mother, which is actually void if the mother with the part of not part of it. If you are selling the mother together with the, I mean, I'm talking about the animal. The animal together with the fetus is fine, but you cannot only sell the fetus to someone because it is yet to be born. But there are some exceptions, of course. Some of us may have thinking that no, there are certain things, we are still doing it, not in existence. Yes, of course. There are two exceptions. Number one is al-salam. The other one is istisna. Because the forward contract, and then also istisna, the contract of the manufacturer, because you know that without you paying some sort of money, he cannot build the house for you, right? So like we pay to the developer, and that is actually exceptional. There are a few things similar to this. These are only house. Even if you want to buy the car, you have to pay certain amount, and then they will manufacture the car for you, right? So there are many things like that. So those things that in our tradition, in our custom, so we just follow the custom. Similarly, if there is, how we do that, we pay the deposit, for example, to get things, because you know that someone has to, secure your item. So you have to pay a deposit. So these are the things we go with that, and that one is okay. Other than that, usually no one can sell something which is not exist. Number two, the subject matter should be delivered. According to Islamic law, it requires that subject matter must be able to be delivered to the contracting party. Otherwise, it is not actually void. It is not actually valid. Why? Because the example given is very, very old example, sell a bird on the sky, fish in the sea, but it's similar, it's relevant even today. People sometimes selling some thought, selling some ideas, selling something that, so we have to be, we have to know that it is not that according to fiqh, it is actually not correct according to fiqh, because sometimes we have money, we have the independence to do whatever that with our own money, right? Nobody is going to stop you, but you need to understand this. How did you earn your money and how did you spend your money is the fundamental question when I go to my grave. Am I right? It is the fundamental question. I mean, aina kasabta? So from where you earn your money and how did you spend your money is a fundamental question. I have to answer this question to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I have to answer. That's why I have to know what are the things that I buy. So the subject matter should be delivered. Number three, the subject matter should be precisely determined. So it has to be precisely, determined and known to the contracting parties. Sufficient knowledge about anything is very, very important. And now it's not difficult for you to buy. I always tell my student, when you are buying something, don't just go and buy. You use your phone and check how much in the market. It's very easy now. You just go to Google and you search particular product, then the list will come and you will know the price, so that you don't have to pay extra price, and then you can negotiate, and then you make sure that you are buying the original item. The sufficient knowledge, even like what Khalifa Umar ibn Khattab, he used to say that those who have no knowledge about market should not enter the market. Because why? Because you become the fish for everyone. Everyone will fish you. Everyone will try to cheat you. So you should have, every one of us should have a sufficient knowledge about the subject matter. So nowadays, Alhamdulillah, we have so many ways to understand, get reviews, opinions about every product, and then we buy. Right? It takes some time, but it's okay. So we need to know the genus, the species, the quality, the quantity. Also, we need to make sure that we do inspect, prove the inferior quality or superior quality. Also, we can use the options, Mr. President, the options of the defect, the options of determination. All these things can be used. Make sure that when we buy things, we have a we have that guarantee that given back to us, how long it given back. When you are doing online shopping, make sure that you use that item for 1 day, and then make sure there is no problem, then only you release the money. All these things can be given as an advice to all our customers, consumers. All this, so it comes under the subject matter should be precisely determined. And then number 4, the most important thing, the subject matter, whatever that we are selling, whatever we are buying, should be legal. Something that commercially has a value. If there is no value commercially, then it becomes what? Void. According to Sharia, the wine, blood, and pork has no value, even though it has some value to the non-Muslims. But for the Muslim, there is no value in it. That's the reason why it was prohibited. And when I started selling and buying, I say myself, I don't consume, I don't eat pork, I don't drink alcohol, but what's wrong with me selling? No. The legal maxim clearly says that whatever is haram to consume, it is also haram to sell and buy. Like what Prophet ﷺ mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is giving example of the Jews, right? About that selling meat and then the fat. Yeah. So according to Sharia, wine, blood, and pork has no value. It is impossible for a Muslim to own such thing. So how can you sell to someone which has no value in it? Remember, going back to our theory of properties, valuable, non-valuable. Okay. Similarly, the sale of the item that cannot be secured, you cannot possess something, that also cannot be sold. Okay. So I think that's all from me. So there's a lot to understand and a lot to discuss, and it is very, very important. Like I said earlier, halal earning is more important than whatever that we are discussing in the name of halal. So because if our money, our earning is pure, our amal will become pure, our dua will be accepted. That's my final word. Thank you very much for listening. Jazakumullahu khair. I return back to Dr. Zira, the moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aslam. Now I agree with you that fiqh muamalat is indeed a very wide and vast subject. I believe that it's not an easy task to compress all the 8 months materials or resources into just 1.5 hours. But you did it. You even make the effort to give us homework through the engagement activities. Thank you so much, Dr. Aslam. We really appreciate the opportunity to learn from you. With your permission, maybe we can take 3 to 4 questions through this live session.
Yes, please.
Okay. Now I have a question coming from our YouTube live, which is, how about the owner? How about me, the owner? Can I sell my apartment when the tenants are there?
Okay. So which means that I already have my agreement with the tenant. So when I have the agreement with the tenant, I should be waiting until the tenant agreement is over. Otherwise, according to fuqaha, this is actually incomplete ownership. Unless you have a different arrangement, which means that you want to discuss with the tenant together with the new owner, and the new owner actually want to keep the same agreement. If he or she wants to keep the same agreement, as long as you don't ask them to go out, which is actually immoral and illegal, because you know that everything has an agreement. Only if that is the circumstances, then it's okay. Otherwise, usually it is not allowed. Yes.
All right. Thank you for your clarification. Another question is that what about Bitcoin that not exist because of no underlying asset to back up this kind of money?
Good. That's also a very good question. You need to know that existing and not existing is, it is actually something very relevant today, because it was maybe irrelevant in the past period of time, but now it's quite different now, because you see, let's say 100 years ago, if I come and tell that I have money in my bank, but it is not paper money, no one will come and believe it, right? Now I don't have the paper money, but I still have my digital, I mean, my money there in the digital number. It is something different. Similarly, that, I have my points, I have my bonuses, I have my, so many things that I do. Like, for example, somehow it becomes intellectual property. Somehow it is actually intangible property. So the time is going. Maybe currently we have two different scholars, fuqaha have two different opinions about, talking about Bitcoin. In fact, I also have a paper coming, but it's not published yet, talking about this, the characteristics of this cryptocurrency, and characteristic of the commodity, the mal, compare with the characteristic of cryptocurrency. So of course there are so many pros and cons, but you see, whatever we say today, maybe after 10-20 years, this question won't exist. Yeah, the same thing happened like few hundred years ago. When the paper money comes, people thought, what is this paper money? How we supposed to trust this paper? It's just a paper. There is no intrinsic value inside of it. So even that time also, fuqaha have two opinions. Fuqaha, some of them, they say, I remember in India, they said no paper money. They don't want to accept the paper money. They want to go back to, that coin, whatever it has, silver and gold. But some of them, they go for it. But later, when everybody started using it, the custom made it using it, and we trust. So custom, which that's why it is one of the secondary source in Sharia, in usul al-fiqh, al-urf is actually custom. So maybe the custom will answer in future, inshallah.
Okay, thank you so much for the clarification. Another question is that, Salam Doctor, if a father made a verbal will to his wife that he wanted to transfer the house ownership that belongs to him to one of their child upon his death, will it be binding according to the Sharia?
Okay, any wasiyah can go up to 1/3 of his property. But there is one issue. He can give his wasiyah to the non-heirs, and when it goes to non-heirs, the non-heir do not need any permission from the heirs. But there is one thing. If the father give it to one of the heir, the wasiyah, I mean, I'm talking about the will, the wasiyah, 1/3, even 1/3, even 1/3, it goes to one of the wasiyah, to one of his heir, the other heir should give permission. Otherwise, it will be like, according to the Sharia inheritance. So sometimes I give this example to my student, saying that, it's quite interesting. At the same time, it's strange. A father can give 1/3 of his property to a madrasa, and the heirs, they don't have to give any permission, for that transfer of the property to the madrasa. But if the father give 1/3 of his own property to one of his heir, then the other heirs also should give permission for that particular heir to use that property. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can take one more question, and this is, I think, a very interesting question, very relevant to us as a student. Okay, some of classical textbooks are out of stock, and we can't reach the publishers to seek permission. In this circumstance, photocopy becomes the last option. What do we do in this situation, sir?
Yes, it is a very tough and difficult question, especially when you when some of the book, even in my case, I've been trying to reach the publisher for one particular book. It's been like 5 years. Been trying and trying. There is no answer from the publisher, and then the publisher itself, they close down. Maybe they are no more reproducing book. That is your answer. If they are no more reproducing the book, then they already made their book for waqaf. So you are actually photocopying the waqaf book is fine. Those are the awqaf, because they are not reproducing anymore. They are not reproducing anymore, which means that they stop printing that book. They stop making money from that book, or maybe they had a good money, they stopped it. That's it. Then if you want to use that book, then that is okay to if I, in my opinion, even myself also, I suffered from that, especially for my student. But if any book is actually currently in market and it has a price on it, and it is not actually allowed for copy and sell and make a market of it, make a library out of it, that is actually something that we are harming the rights of the author and the publisher. That's my opinion. There are a few hands in Zoom, Dr. Zira. Is it okay?
We don't actually allow the audible question.
Oh, okay, okay.
They can ask just in the chat box. Would you like to take some question more?
Yes, if you have any questions, please.
We have a lot, but maybe due to the time constraint, maybe we just can take another one.
Another one, yes. Yeah.
But Bitcoin money, is it not part of gambling?
Okay, how you see, that's what I'm saying. The market, the fluctuation is going on. You have to be very careful with that Bitcoin, because there are two aspects to look into that. One is Bitcoin as a currency. That one we always have an issue, because even government also did not accept it, right? Because not at the majority of the government, they didn't accept it as a currency, but Bitcoin as a crypto commodity. Let's say you want to buy as a stock. You want to buy as a stock. You have to be very careful in that, because it is not that fiqh. It's not the job of the fiqh to tell that, okay, go and buy this stock. Don't buy that stock. It's not the job of the fiqh. The fiqh will tell you what are the criteria to buy something, because if you want to buy something that should be useful for the audience, I mean for the society, for the community, you need to prove. You need to prove to us that what exactly the use when you buy that Bitcoin stock. Is it actually going to be quite helpful for the community? And there are plenty of other stocks are there. You have a wealth Allah has given you, and if you buy other things, this is what actually probably, because this is as a Muslim, we are not only selfish, we are not only looking for our own self, because this is as I said earlier at the beginning, we spend more than 8 hours in this muamalat. If you live like 80 years, then just do the calculation. You spend more than 30 years, actually 25 to 30 years only in this muamalat. And how do we make this ibadah? Because our ibadah is only 10 minutes per prayer. Maybe like 1 hour to 2 hours we do our ibadah, but these 8 hours we need to consider as ibadah. That's why we follow this halal earning, and we need to know wherever we invest the money, we need to understand that actually that is actually quite helpful for the community, for you and for the community. It's not for you alone, because later you buy the stock and you will be looking for someone to sell it, and at the end it is just a transferring hand to someone, to someone, to someone. At the end of the day, someone is going to lose. Then your question is right. It's a kind of gambling. Yeah. So your question will become right only if that's what happened. Yeah. But we are not very clear about it. It's happening, but you have to be very careful. If you know that very well, it's up to you. If not, better you stay away. That's why we have a shubuhat, which is actually we call gray area. Halal is very clear, haram is very clear. In between, there are gray area. So you have to be very careful with that. Only if you know very well and you know the business, and you can take risk, and then if it is for your own benefit, darura, then you go for it. Otherwise, it is not for the luxury. You better stay away from these things. Yeah. At the same time, you need to study, and it might become, because at the beginning, because now we saw the fluctuation suddenly going down. It was up last year, this year suddenly going down. Yeah, you need to study and be careful with your own money. It's not about talking about fiqh to tell you it is halal or haram. I'm concerning more about your money. So make sure that you invest in the right place. Sorry, you invest your money in the right place. That's all from me. Thank you very much.